Hello, welcome to the video. This is an overview of the newly designed CoLaw.co.uk website. So this is now a WordPress mobile responsive website with a lot of upgrades and improvements over the old version. I've got a version of the old site up here using archive.org. It's a system called Wayback Machine. It lets you see websites as they were in the past. So this is a cached version of CoLaw.co.uk, very useful for comparison. So this was a fixed width website, and we don't actually know what the CMS was. The content management system eluded us somewhat. We didn't actually know what it was. We just knew it was very difficult to use. So now with WordPress, I think you'll find that this is a much better website. You've just got to keep things up to date, and I need to talk you through some of the functionality so that you can get the best out of it. So first of all, we're using the same logo, but it's now an SVG logo, which means it can resize using CSS within the browser. So that's the file size of an SVG is a lot smaller than a GIF, which was what the CoLaw website had before. This is better for the mobile experience. Things like this help everything to load a lot faster. We've also used web text for the strapline protecting your business and employment law and health and safety solutions, whereas before that was just an image, which is bad practice really online, because if you want to stand a chance with SEO and on-page keywords, you want to be using actual text, not an image. So that's one improvement over the old website. We've kept a search engine facility on the top right, and we've got the phone number. So we've just created a different version of that. The primary navigation bar is pretty much the same. It's all the same links, only I've changed some of the permalink structure. I'll talk to you more about that when we get to that. We've also got a slider, a newly improved slider, which is again responsive. So when we collapse it down in size, the image is resized. We've also got this overlay, so there's a brief description of each page and a call to action as well. So when you click the button or click the image, it will go through to the page in question, as will clicking these buttons at the top here: employment law, health and safety law, resources and events. So it's all going to the same location, but just different ways of getting there. We've also got the call to action: employees call us now, and we've got a button that if we click that takes us through to the contact page where people can fill out an email form. Previously, that call to action was just simply here: employees call us now. This was embedded as some kind of image, which isn't again, it's best to have web text really, actual text. And if we scroll down, we've got a brief description of the two main components of this business: employment law and health and safety law. Previously it looked like this. So we've got employment law and then 3 links. We've got health and safety law and 4 links. What I've done is I've added images, so it's a little bit more visual than it was. This contact form: your name, your company, email address, and whatever it is you're interested in. I'll just redesign this using something called Contact Form 7, which is a plugin that comes with WordPress that can be added to WordPress and then customize. And I'll show you that now actually while I think about it. So if we go to the WordPress dashboard, you've got something called contact here. Click contact and then you'll get all the contact forms. We've only got 2 contact forms on the page. We've got the one on the front page and one on the actual contact page. If I click contact form brackets front page, this will show you the HTML that's been used to create this, and these are required fields, so unless the user fills them in, the form doesn't send. If I click mail, this shows you where the form data will be sent. It's going to hello@colaw.co.uk, which is an inbox, which then forwards a copy of the message to any of the other staff at CoLaw who are operating their own email box. So anything that hits hello@colaw.co.uk, including the contact form 7 forms, will get forwarded to them. and it'll even have the person's name. So it's all set up in a very specific way. You've just got to make sure that you keep the Contact Form 7 plugin up to date to avoid any disruptions. And it will say from your name, your email. And I'll tell you what we'll do. So this is what the staff at CoLaw will get a copy of. Let's send a test email right now. So your name, Darren, your company, test. Let's say I'm interested in employment law. So in a minute, a copy of this data will land in hello@colaw.co.uk. I've got that mailbox open, so let's have a look. There we go. And copies of that have gone to the other staff. So from Darren, from email address, that's the email address that it was sent to. Sent from the main page of the CoLaw website, company, test, email, phone. I'm interested in the following CoLaw services, employment law. If we scroll down, we've got another call to action. We are health and safety and employment law consultants. If you click that button, email us, that goes through to the contact form, where again they can fill out a contact form. Now this is the part where I tidied things up significantly. If we look at the front page, it says welcome to CoLaw. Then we've got a kind of big block of text where everything's slightly unintelligible, and really the text should be a lot bigger than that, and the headings ought to be bolder, things ought to be spaced out, and that's what I've done. And it's conducive to better copywriting, putting things on separate lines using HTML paragraphs and HTML line breaks. I've also made it a little bit more visual, so we've just repurposed some of the images we've already got on the website, the CoLaw logo, the health and safety sign. Also, you'll see that for the quote, I've created a HTML speech bubble, and that's much better if we compare it to what we had before, which was, I've got to squint to see that it's not just about mitigating risk, blah, 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 da, da, da. And that's the quote, and that was the person who said it. Well, you can see what I've done, and I think you'll agree that's a lot easier to read. And I've used these separators as well to separate each section. Now this is the footer section. This footer section appears on every page of the website, whether it's a WordPress post or a WordPress page. This always appears, and I've reiterated the primary navigation. So this here at the top, or this business here at the top, I've reiterated it as basic text links. I've got the contact information and stuff like that. And the reason I've done that is if I go into mobile mode, imagine for a moment that you're on a mobile phone. In order to get this navigation bar open, you've got to tap it with your finger. Let's imagine you're on your phone and you didn't know that, and you just scrolled down, reading. It's nice to have this quick nav, because if a person has read all the way to the end of the page, then at least they've got something to do now, rather than having to scroll back up and go hunting for the primary nav, which is here. Some people know to do that, but if it's a person who's never used a phone before and they don't quite know how to use a mobile website, it's just useful just to have these things. I should say also that I'm displaying the latest blog post here, so whatever was published most recently appears here. We've also got these employment law resources. We did have those before in the here we go, resources. It was on the fourth column on the right here, and it just says view all resources. I've just expanded that a bit and used headings and view all resources, and it's a bit easier to understand. So should we go on to the first page, employment law? So I've recreated the employment law page, and this time it's a little bit more visual, because this page was heavy on text and shy with the images. Well, now we've got a featured image, and it breaks up the monotony of lots of text. I've separated the text into more easy to understand chunks. It's a lot easier to understand. But what I should point out is that I've recreated this sidebar, I've created something called a custom sidebar, because if we look here, when you click retain support services, it opens up a new sidebar and it drills down. It's the same with ad hoc services, and you've got all these subsections. So I've recreated those inside WordPress, so when you click these open up, and these have been created using text widgets inside WordPress. I'll show you those now. It's very important, if you ever want to make changes to these, you're going to have to make changes to these custom sidebars. So we're on employment law sidebar. See, that's all HTML, you see. Employment law sidebar. And we've got multiple sidebars, and these all represent all the different services. So if I look at employment law ad hoc services, well, employment law ad hoc services, and there it is. So this is quite complex, and it's very important to the functionality of the website. So if you ever intend to make changes, you've got a bit of work to do in the sidebar. But assuming you don't want to change any of that, it's really a case of, you know, set and forget. And if you don't intend to play with this, then you can really ignore it and not worry too much about it. We've also got in the sidebar the email opt-in form, which is connected to the Infusionsoft email newsletter. I've tested this, it works. First name and email address. What else do we have? We've got the blog, so whatever's been added to the blog recently appears here with the most recent post at the top. And then I've added employment law resources in the sidebar as well. I don't believe that was there before. Let me go back to employment law. It might have been there. No, it wasn't. No, so I've added that. So if we go to health and safety law, it's pretty much the same thing. Again, featured image, reformatted text, custom sidebars once again, email opt-in once again, and it's the same thing. Now news. Now this is where I've changed things a little bit because we're using the WordPress RSS feed. With WordPress, as you might know or may not if you've never used WordPress before, you can add categories and tags to a blog post. You couldn't do that in the old system. So it wasn't possible to use any kind of taxonomies. But if we go to the WordPress post editor and go to categories, here you can set up categories. So I've got employment law, health and safety law, and news. And if we go to all posts, you can see which posts have got categories assigned to them by clicking this quick edit. So any post that you write which is considered news, quote unquote, I'd suggest that you add to that the category of news, because if you do that, it will show up on this page. So it's kind of like segmenting newsworthy items from the main blog, which is here. And we've only used 4 posts. Previously there were quite a few. There was an archive going back as far as 2009, but you sent over the 4 best performing posts. So if in the future when you add posts, by default they'll all go to the blog feed, but if you want to separate any of those and say that they're news items, add the news category. Now the next section is a section I'm particularly pleased with, because this is a huge improvement and it took quite a lot of custom development work to get this going, but I was very pleased that I was able to do it, because I've created what I think is a very good user interface for anybody who wants to add future events to CoLaw. Let me show you what it was like before. So we had the title and the date on which the event would be taking place and the location, and then you could click event details and it would say, you know, the cost, how long it is, and description, book now, and a few bullets. But what I noticed was there was a lot of inconsistency with these. They were all different. Sometimes it says book now, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's bullet points, sometimes there isn't. And I was wondering why that was. Wayback Machine doesn't even have that one archived. But they were kind of inconsistent, in my opinion, and not great, really. So what I decided to do was create a custom post type in WordPress. So what we've got now is an events archive page with a featured image at the top and a brief description of the page and what it's about. And what we've got here is events we've got the title, which is a hyperlink, and we've got a featured image, and we've got the event date, and we've got a summary, the cost, and the duration. Now remember, this is just an archive page, and if you click one of these event titles, it takes you through to the page. So this is something not dissimilar to a WordPress blog post, only I've customized it in a very particular way. So we've got an image, we've got the summary, we've got the cost, we've got the duration, and then we've got the venue, and then we've got a map, and then we've got a link where if you click a larger map, it takes you to the Google Maps website. Then we've got an event description, then we've got topics covered, and then we've got a call to action. And that is the same for all the pages, for all these event posts. So if you click each of these, you've always got summary, cost, duration, and venue. We haven't always got an extra image to add to it, but if you haven't, just leave that. We've got the map again, we've got the event description, topics covered. So it was a case of me going through each of the events and recreating all of these. I know these events have gone already, but it's useful to have a historical archive so people can see what has gone, what has come before, and it's also so that anybody adding new events, whoever operates this website, can look at what was done previously and then just recreate that. So let's have a look at these custom posts. So if you look on the WordPress dashboard here, it's called training events. So if you click training events, these are all the events that we've created. And if we let's edit one of the events that we've already got, fire safety awareness training. So let's edit that, and we can see how this post has been constructed. So fire safety awareness training, that's your main heading. That's this bit here, fire safety awareness training. And then we've got a section for the date, and I'm very specific about the date format. I want you to write the name of the month out, followed by the day, and then the year. And in this case it was November 17th 2015, and that displays here, you see, event date November 17th 2016. Then we've got a custom a featured image which you can delete if you like, and you can add your own. So what you would do is, if you wanted to do that, is click add media and then upload a new file. But if you don't have anything to add, by default this image will populate a new post. Then we've got the summary. Please enter a brief summary of the training event, maximum of 150 characters. So that's just a little bit more than a tweet in Twitter. So you're going to have to make sure that it comes under 150 characters. If it goes over, you just got to crush it down a little bit and use all of your copywriting skills to make sure it's under 150. And that's the summary there, you see. So summary in bold, and there's the summary. Notice that you don't have to write the word summary, that already populates, you see. And it's the same with cost, duration, and venue. Cost, duration, and venue. So always add it in the formats already used for the demo purposes. So it's £65 plus VAT. Duration is it half day, full day. Venue, So venue is always going to be the same, so you don't actually need to do anything. When you add a new post, this map will already be there. And in fact, let's add a new post. We won't actually publish it, we'll just keep it in draft mode. So you'd add your title there, you'd add your month, you'd delete these bits and add the month. If you haven't got an image, just leave that one. Enter your summary, less than 150 characters, enter your price. So a lot of this is already done for you, and you've just got to delete it and just, add, the correct values. Full day or half day. There's the map, it's already populated. Description, enter a description of the course. Event, these are the bullet points. So it could be handling fire extinguishers. Whoops, spelt that wrong. I'd expect you'd do all the spell check in Word document first, and you just add all of your topics, and they would display here as bullets. So this is consistent. You're forced to fulfill all of the criteria, and the call to action is added for you. So you don't need to do any of that. This is always added for you. So once you've done all of this, there it is, by the way, and you can change it if you want to. If you want to, just add a variation to it or something, you can do that. So, if you wanted to, you could change that. And then you've got all your SEO settings. So you'd add your document title, meta description, and stuff like that. Canonical URL. You can grab that by coming up here and highlighting that. Copy. Very important to add a canonical URL. And then you would either save it as a draft, or you would publish it, or you can preview it. So this is like the piece de la resistance of this website, I think. These custom posts, they are really fantastic, and not a lot of WordPress websites use these, but if you do use them, my God, they can be really powerful, especially when you've got other people who aren't WordPress experts coming on board to write new events, and they just want to fill in the criteria and click publish. What else do we have? Resources previously looked like this. Pretty basic, really, and you click through and then you can view all resources. So I've pretty much recreated that. I've used SVGs to create these PDF icons. Got a featured image as well, and if you click view all employment law resources, it goes through to a list of all of those resources. We've got an about us page. You could do with a featured image for this, really. I didn't ask you to provide a featured image. I suppose you could always do that in the future, but it's a massive improvement. Again, this is just a huge block of text, and it was separated and made more coherent. Oh yeah, we've got testimonials as well, and we're using the speech bubble that I was showing you earlier on. So this is just CSS, and it's nice and fast loading, especially for the mobile device. Finally, we've got contact us page. So I've taken text that was on the old contact page and reimagined it, because let's be honest, that's not much to look at. Whereas this is a bit more to look at. Better formatting, use of a Google map, everything's laid out nicely, and we've got a contact form again. So that concludes the overview of the CoLaw website. If you've got any questions, let me know. Hopefully this is all you need in order to continue with the CoLaw strategy. Now, one thing I forgot to mention was that if you're adding posts, the call to action that I mentioned earlier on, Let me just show you. This is automatically added assuming that you are posting as this user. I've obviously blurred out the username for the purpose of this video because I don't want anyone else to see it, but you've got to log into WordPress under this username in order to make your posts, because I'll show you why. If I go to your profile, we've got a WordPress profile. See here, look, this is the call to action. That's the HTML. Look, let us help you with employment law and safety regulations. If I go back, let us help you with employment law and safety regulations. So that only gets added to the post if this user added the post. So it's very important that you do use that particular user to make the posts. What you could always do is, if you've got posts that weren't added by that user, if you go quick edit, you can add a different user and then attribute all those posts to that user, and then the call to action will come up. Oh yeah, I forgot to say quite a lot of things I've forgotten to mention. The plugins, you've got to keep these up to date. We've got cookie consent. You can't see it now, but when you first come onto the website, a cookie notification pops up, and that's EU law. It's EU law that all websites have this JavaScript pop-up that appears either from the top or from the bottom. I tell you what, if we open an incognito window, it's because I've already shut down the pop-up when it popped up earlier on. If I go incognito and then reload this site, it should give me the there we go, look, this site uses cookies, find out more. So I've added a template cookie policy which pretty much ticks all the boxes that the European Union want us to abide by. Interestingly though, later this year there's going to be an EU consultation as to whether or not we need to continue to display these pop-up notifications. So it could well be that in a couple of months' time we might be able to take this off, depending on what the outcome of the EU consultation is. We've got a few other plugins. We can deactivate that one, actually, duplicator. That's for backup and migration. We've got some security plugins. iTheme security, that's a good one. We've got Tiny MCE Advanced. That adds additional editing capabilities to WordPress posts. So it's a little bit more like Microsoft Word. So you've got file, edit and things like that. A bit easier to create posts. We've got Word Fence Security. That's a really, really good plugin. You'll be getting notifications about WordPress updates that are needed. So every time a plugin needs updating, it will send you an email. It will say critical update required. We've got all the usual stuff, Akismet for spam protection. We've got WP Mail SMTP. That is because CoLaw is using Office 365, and I was talking to the person who manages email, and they were saying that Microsoft doesn't like emails being sent from websites by PHP mail. They prefer SMTP. SMTP means Smart Mail Transfer Protocol, I think it is. That just makes sure that the emails are verified and valid, and for that reason in the dashboard for this plugin I had to add the username and password for hello@colaw.co.uk. If that username and password ever changes to access hello@colaw.co.uk, you're going to have to change those credentials for this plugin, otherwise the contact forms will stop working, and you don't want that. That really does conclude it now. I've covered pretty much everything I can think of. I went as quick as I could. I might have gone too quick, so again, ask me if you need me to change or update anything. So thanks for watching. Speak to you soon. Bye.